Hey guys, Kevin here. I've got the Game Boy Micro. I've got two in fact. This one I've bought for my brother as a present. This one is my own. Now what I'd like to do in this video is just go around and just talk about the Game Boy Micro, show you how it works, etc. and just do an overview of what this handheld is like and good and bad points about it. I did a similar video before for the PSP Go, so it's really going to be touching upon similar kind of thing. So before we get started, I'll just quickly talk about Game Boy Micro. This was released in 2005 and it didn't do as well as expected, and the reason was that it was actually sold like 5 or 6 months after the Nintendo DS came out. So the next generation of handhelds was out. Everyone was excited about that. So this one didn't really get the attention that it should have, which is a shame because it's a fantastic little handheld. Well, saying that it didn't get attention, it did sell a couple of million units, so it was still very popular. And it did have a lot of great features. I'll just quickly talk about, I've just got this from the, in fact, if I get the contrast down, you should be able to see that on the screen. Okay, so you can see the dimensions here. 50 by 101 by 17.2 millimeters, which is 2 by 4 by 0.7 inches. It weighs 80 grams or 2.8 ounces. It's got a 32-bit 16.8 megahertz ARM processor. Screen 51 millimeters by, so it's 2 inches. It's a 2-inch screen. Backlight with adjustable brightness. Resolution is 240 by 160 pixels. 512 colours in character cell mode or 32,768 in bitmap mode. And the rechargeable battery will last between 5 hours on top brightness up to 8 hours with the default. It's got a headphone jack, etc. as well. So I'm sure you already know a few things about this already. This is a Game Boy Advance, so it takes Game Boy Advance cartridges. Now there was 3 Game Boy Advance systems. There was the original Game Boy Advance, which was a kind of handheld like this, quite a large one. It took batteries. The next one was the SP. Now the SP was smaller, it had a clamshell design. One of the benefits of the SP was that it had a lithium ion battery. Now both the original Game Boy Advance and the SP didn't have a backlit screen, which means that when you're playing in the dark you had to put a light on, because the screen wasn't too good. There was one edition of the SP that came out that did have a backlit screen. It was called the AGS 101, and to this day it's still one of the most expensive SPs you can buy. You can pick up an SP in the UK for about £20, like $25 or something, but the 101, you're probably going to be paying 4 or 5 times that at least. So the Game Boy Micro actually had the best of both worlds in many ways, because it did have a backlit screen and it also had a lithium ion battery. Now the biggest selling point about this is, as you can see, is the size. I mean, this thing is tiny. It really is. When you see it in the hand, you can get an idea of the size of it. Now, I've got a few other handhelds here. Maybe it's maybe better. I'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. Might give you a better comparison. So we've got the Game Boy Micro, we've got the Sony PSP Go, and then we've got, zoom out a little bit more. There we go. Then we've got the original 3DS. This isn't the XL, it's just the regular one. Now you can see the difference in size. Now, in practicality terms, when you're playing these things, size-wise, it doesn't look like the PSP Go is much bigger, but you can see, when you get them like this thing is so much smaller. Now, downside to this, the size issue is the best thing about the Micro and it's the worst thing about it. I mean, I think most people would agree with me on that. It's light, it's portable, it's super cool, it looks amazing, and I think for a handheld, that is one of the best things you can get for a handheld, is the fact that this thing is so small and portable. But because of that, it does affect the game playing experience in a way. So without a doubt, there's some people who have bought this who have said that that they can't play it because it's too small, and others says that it doesn't bother them. I guess I'm in the middle. I think if you're in the house and you're not travelling anywhere, I think it makes more sense to play Game Boy Advance games either on, you know, a larger system's emulation, or play on the original Game Boy Advance or the Game Boy SP. A lot of the people who bought the SP also said that they thought it was too small. And I guess if you've had the Advance then you went to the SP, I can understand that. One thing I really don't like about the original Advance is that it takes batteries, whereas the SP and the Game Boy Micro have got a lithium ion battery. I just hate the idea of not being able to charge it up. Now, and we're talking about charging, you can see it doesn't use like a micro B connection. It's, you know, Nintendo's own unique connection. And if I can get this on the right way. Now the good thing is you can still buy these cables. This is the original charger that came with it, but I only bought this cable the other day, only got it back the other day. So if I get it in, you'll see that's it charging. I love the idea, it's a really long cable. It means that I can charge it in my car, I can charge it with power banks and that kind of thing. So that's something that's really, really good. Now let's take a kind of closer look at all these accessories, all these buttons and all these the features of the Game Boy Micro. On the back you have the cartridge slot. Now the original Game Boy Advance and the SP could play original Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. That is something that has been sacrificed for this. This only plays Game Boy Advance games. You can see down the bottom left here you've got the power switch. There. You've got the headphone jack there. You've got volume, so if you push the volume up and down there. You've got select and start here. That's actually... for whatever reason that wasn't loading up correctly. So you've got the D-pad, B and A. You've got the shoulder buttons here, they're kind of clicky. Here they are. Feels quite good. Now, as far as volume, you should be able to hear like this going down. So the volume's going down. It's quite loud, and the screen looks great. What they've done is actually to save an extra button, there's 5 different levels of brightness. So to change the brightness, you hold L, and then you can go down and up. So you should be able to see that changing a little bit. To be honest, there's not a huge amount of difference between the brightness levels in my opinion, but it is there. If you want to save battery life, put it on the lower one. I mean, if you've got good light anyway, I think the lowest brightness is okay. But the screen looks fantastic and it's got decent viewing angles, so that's not something you're going to complain about. There's a little part there, so that's where you can put in a little, what do you call it? A little string. You know, you can get with your cameras, etc., with your phones, and you can put it in, and then like a hand strap. Sorry, a hand strap. My brain isn't working. As far as how this plays though, it plays really good, but there's no doubt about it that you are playing. I mean, look at my hand, like the way, how close my hands are together. I'm almost holding my hands like that, you know, like together. So I'm getting this tower there, see what it's here. There's a lot of great games on the Game Boy Advance. That is something that's a big selling point about this. Now, as far as buying one of these, I picked this up one. This one was £70, mint condition. Came with a couple of games. I probably paid slightly more than I should have, especially when the main game that was with it is a fake. So this might retail for £5–10 in the UK if it's an original, but this was a fake. It's worth about $1 or $2, if that. This one was only £45, and the guy put it on his buy it now, so this one's pretty much mint as well. So I got a bit of a bargain on this. It's got over, I think it's over 1,000 games for the Game Boy Advance. There's a lot of crap games on it, just like any system, but there's a lot of classics as well. And one of the things I loved about the Advance is it is essentially a SNES. You know, there's lots of SNES games that were re-released for this. You know, as far as a capability point of view, you know, it's got very similar specifications as far as the games that it can play and the graphics it can produce. You can see here we've got 2 SNES games here, A Link to the Past and Yoshi's Island. And, you know, for me, you know, when the SNES came out, I was like 12 years old, so So obviously it's left a big impression on me as far as, there's a lot of nostalgia for me. So there's a lot of games on this system that I want to, play. Games like this, Legend of Zelda, the Mario games, there's some Sonic games, there's the Rock and Roll Racing, all these other games that I loved when I was a kid. And for me, from a nostalgia point of view, the Game Boy Advance is a fantastic system, and it's a lot of great games on it. From an emulation point of view, what you have to do is buy what's known as a flash card, and essentially a flash card, it's like this, except it's got a micro SD slot on the top. Now, I've been looking at them. The most popular one at the moment is called Easy Flash 4, and Easy Flash 4 retails, it's probably about $30-40, and you can put in a micro SD card. It used to be a mini SD, but it's now a micro SD card. And what it does is it allows you to, put lots of games on it and then emulate it. As far as whether that's a good thing to do or not, I'm not sure. I'm going to buy one. I'm going to try it out. There's another option. There's a few different options, but the other one that's out just now, was only released this year, was called EverDrive X5. The problem is this thing's about $100. It's very expensive, and also the cartridge sticks out. So I think for the Game Boy Micro, you want to keep things portable. So that's a pain, but apparently emulation is better. It's a better system. It's faster. The whole debate about whether you should buy original games or not for this, I mean, it really is a personal preference. On the plus point, I love being able to just switch this off if you've got the original cartridge and just play your game. Instantaneous. You can start your game, you can save it, and you can go on. And these cartridges are small enough that if you're going somewhere, you can take the Game Boy Micro in a little pouch, and you can, probably take 2 or 3 games as well, so that when you're out, you could play a game. I think that is how I see this Game Boy Micro. That is how I think it should be used. If you're at home, I think it makes sense to have a larger system, larger screens. Weight isn't an issue, portability isn't an issue. What I think this is great for is the fact that this thing is so small. Looking at it compared to my phone, it's tiny. This is the kind of thing you could put in your pocket, and you could take it with you all the time. So if you ever get caught short somewhere and you need to wait around a doctor's office, on a bus, on a train, you're flying, anything like that, then this is a fantastic little system, and you're not carrying around a lot of stuff, a lot of weight. Game Boy Micro is excellent. It's really portable, and for a handheld to be portable, you forget sometimes that one of the reasons you want a handheld is that you're not home, so you want to have something that's light and portable. Because of that, though, a lot of the Game Boy Micros that are on the market, they're all really, really scraped. They've got a lot of scratches on it, and I suspect it's because people have been using it in that way, because they have been putting it in their pockets with their keys. So a lot of them are really scraped badly. Thankfully, the ones I've got are quite good condition. Now, I've did 2 videos about the Game Boy Micro already. One of them the other day talked about how you can open up the faceplate. Now, these Game Boy Micros, if you push this in here, and then, see it there, just popped up. Basically, that allows me to, if I can get it, let me just push that again. You just use a paper clip, and you push there, and see how it pops up. And then you've got this off. Now, the faceplates were kind of like a marketing thing in some respects, in that you can change the faceplates. You can buy these in different colours, different designs, and you can make your Game Boy Micro unique. You can make it, your own unique design and personalise it. But from a practicality point of view, it is quite good, because it means that you can keep it dust free. This protects the screen, you can see there. Protects the screen, so from dust and things like that, so it protects it from scratches. And if you ever get bad scratches or anything bad on the front, you can just replace this, or you can clean it. Putting it back on is fairly easy. You go to the other side, go there, and then just, there you go. Is that easy? The other video that I did talked about how there's a lot of fakes in the market, and that's, you should really go and check that video on its own, but I'll just quickly talk about that in this video. The Game Boy Advance, there's a lot of fake games on the market, so if you want to be collecting games, you really want to buy this. This is what's called a tri-wing screwdriver, or a tri-point screwdriver, or a Y1 screwdriver. And you can use this to unscrew the back of a Game Boy Advance game. And this will help you see whether a game is real or not. Now, all you do is you take that screw down and you pull this down here, and then you should pull off. This is actually harder than an original to do because this is a fake. Original games, they pop out much easier. This one isn't. But as far as, you know, how to spot a game, a fake game, it's not. There's a lot of giveaway signs. I won't talk about them all, but really a lot of it's down to the cover art. You know, little things in you know, like indents in the plastic, and also in these chipsets. Now, I don't know if it's sure it's apparent there, but you know, little things here, like all this part, all these dots should all be in a line, and they've got them going up and down. You've got the Chinese writing in there and all that. As I said, I'll leave a link to my video about this below, but from a buyer, you know, if you're a collector, from a kind of collector's point of view, it is a pain because you can pick up these games really cheap. You know, there's lots of good games you can pick up between, you know, $5 or $10 or £5 or £10, that kind of thing. But the problem is there's a lot of games flooding the market that are fake. Once you've actually, you know, educated yourself on what these games look like, what fake games look like, then this is less of an issue. But it is a pain, do you know what I mean? As I say, check out my video, it will help you see what to look for. If I can get this thing here. Now, I just want to talk briefly about that, as I said, about collecting. Here's the thing, you know, you can go down the emulation route and get a flash card, or you can start buying original games. Now, you can pick up these games, $5 or $10, sometimes even cheaper, and there's job lots where you can get lots of them in a collection. So there is a lot of positive points for doing that. Okay, speaking for a positive note for buying original games, you're going to get the original experience. You know, there's no emulation problems which you sometimes get, and you can pick these games up fairly cheap, $5 or $10. The problem is that a lot of the better games are a little bit more expensive, so, you know, you'll pay a little bit more for the games like Zelda and Sonic Advance. Sometimes you'll have to pay more than that. Some of the Mario games in the classic series, the games, you know, there was a re-release of lots of classic NES games. Those are a little bit more expensive as well. So you do have to pay a little bit more for those. You know, from a playability point of view, I love the fact that you just click on and the game's on. Now, anyone who's used an emulator before knows that that's not how it works if you've got an emulator. If you've got, for example, this PSP Go, now, when you want to play a game in this, you need to go through all the menu system, and then you need to go through all this. So, if I can get, you know, you need to go through all the menu systems, you need to pick the game. So there's a Game Boy Advance game there, by the looks of it. Now, there's pros to that. There's pros to playing through this. You know, I can play all the Game Boy Advance games on this in the one device, and that's the benefit of having emulation. You can carry around in your pocket, you know, 1,000 games, all the games you ever want. But from a usability point of view, it is a little bit, you know, your experience is a little bit poorer, because you need to go through, you know, menu systems. You need to start scrolling down the directory to find the game that you actually want to play, things like that. There are some benefits, you know, that you can create save points at any time. You don't have to save the game at designated save points. So there are some benefits to emulation. Personally, I think if you're a collector, there's a good argument for having both. I think if you're walking around a long time and you're trying to complete a game such as Zelda like this, it's great to have the original. You just switch it on and off and you've got the game. But, you know, if you're going on holiday, you're not sure what games you want to play, there's a good argument for getting something like the Easy Flash 4, sticking a few hundred games on it, and just skipping around different games and playing the ones that take your fancy. Because, you know, you might want to play Sonic, and then later on you want to play Mario, and then you want to play another game, perhaps play some games they've not played before. So I'll let you guys decide which is best. I mean, I think a lot of it is just down to your own preference as to whether you prefer the original games, whether you want to collect games or whether you're happy just getting the handheld and emulating games. But it's different from the PSP where you just stick things on a memory card or stick it onto the built-in storage. You need to get a flash card for that to work, and then in the flash card then you put a micro SD card in. I must admit though, I do love the Game Boy Micro. I think it's amazing. I've wanted one for years. One of my friends had one when it came out and I was always jealous of it. And I'm very, very happy with it. But I would say, you know, as I said earlier when I touched upon this at the start, its greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. You know, this is small and light and portable, but the size does affect how you're playing a game. You know, so you can see you're playing like this. The experience is a little bit cramped. Now that's not too bad an issue if you just want to switch on a game and play for 10, 15 or 20 minutes or even an hour. But you know, if you're going to be playing a lot, it's a different experience playing on something like this. And really it comes down to your hand position. You know, if you can see here, when I'm playing the Game Boy Micro, my hands are like here. You know, they're like, I don't know if you can see the space between my hands. Whereas here, my hands, they're a little bit further apart. Now this makes a big difference. It doesn't look like a lot, but it does make a difference in how comfortable it feels playing games, because your hands don't, you know, playing games like this, the closer your hands are together to playing games like this, the more your hands kind of cramp up. It depends how, you know, I guess maybe it depends on how big your hands are, or maybe not, but I mean, I think it's really down to preference. You know, I've read some people with small hands, they say they've got small hands and they still don't like the Game Boy Micro, so it really is a preference type of thing. I think it's amazing. I love it. I think it's cool. It's arguably the sexiest Game Boy ever created, in my opinion. It's practical. It's got a lithium-ion battery. It's got a backlit screen so you can play in the dark. Excuse me. And it's got a fantastic catalogue of games. And if you do put an emulator on it, then you can play Game Boy Advance games, NES games, Game Boy Color games, Game Boy games, that kind of thing. You can play a lot of games on it through emulation, and it's quite a simple little handheld. You'll notice here as well, there's actually some, I think it's the other side, there's some tri-wing screws here as well. Now, I'm kind of jumping around here, but you will notice if this tri-wing thing, screwdriver, as I said earlier, buy this. You can pick this up for $1 or £1, and it's worth the price alone simply because you can check every game that you've got is real. But it can also be used on the Game Boy itself. And one of the reasons it's good to get is, well, this one isn't a tri-wing, but if there's a tutorial online, it shows you how to do it. But you can actually take out the battery in here. So if your battery ever dies, you can buy a replacement. And I've not done it myself, but it looks like a fairly easy modification to do, to replace the battery and put in a new one, so that, you know, you can keep this new. And effectively, you know, these kind of things, the thing with cartridges, it's not like discs over time that, you know, they don't really deteriorate too much. You know, perhaps sometimes the batteries do, but you can change those as well. But I think, you know, if the main problem is the battery life. If you pick up a Game Boy Micro, and there is a chance you've bought one and someone's played it to death, then if you got one and the battery was bad, then you can pick up a battery that's not expensive. I think it's under $10, and you can do the modification yourself. There's good tutorials online. So I think this is a handheld for the future. If in that respect, it's not like you're buying it and it's just going to sit there. You can use this every day to play games. So I think it's quite a practical option. For a retro fan, you know, if you're kind of the same age as me, or perhaps even younger. I mean, this came out in 2005, so, you know, if this came out 10 years ago, what age were you 10 years ago? If you were a teenager or if you were 6 or 7 years old, you might have seen this out and you probably wanted it and you didn't get it. God, God, what age was I? I was probably in my mid-20s or older than that when this came out, so, and I'm a big fan of it, so if you're a big kid like me and, you know, you love gaming, I think this is a great little system. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. I just wanted to kind of touch upon all the different things to look at in a Game Boy Micro. If you are buying it, if you are looking to buy one, you might pick up a bit of bargain if you check the local listings. You know, in the UK we've got Gumtree and things like that. You'll get lots of pawn shops, old retro shops that might sell these a little bit cheaper. But the most popular place is eBay. To check on eBay, I would say, personally, I mean, maybe you don't mind a few scratches. I personally think a scratch or two isn't too bad, and there's a little tiny scratch there on the shoulder button. It's not a major problem. But some of these things are completely scratched all over, you know, because people have put it in their pockets with their keys. And personally, if you can, I think it's worth paying the extra to get one that doesn't have that, because when it comes to ever reselling, if you do, then, you know, you're going to get less money. The thing is as well, I was ready to, before I bought the PSP Go, I was swaying between these two systems, and I opted for the PSP Go, which is still one of my favourite handhelds. I love this, absolutely love this thing. Can emulate so many things and, you know, play original games and all that too. But I think that there is the Game Boy Micro is fantastic too. I don't think I necessarily made a bad decision going for the PSP Go, but I think the Game Boy Micro, without a doubt, is cooler. And, you know, it's Nintendo, you know, and it feels great, looks great. As I said though, like when I was looking at this originally, what was putting me off was it was quite expensive, but it's actually went up in price, and I do think that over the years, this is going to get more and more expensive. This normally retails at probably 3 times or 4 times the price of the Game Boy Advance SP and the Game Boy Advance original version, and, you know, I think it's always going to charge a premium. So if you can find a good version of this at a good price, I would recommend it. Another thing to note is if you are collecting this, for the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP, you can actually buy original shells. This is something I want to do. I'm thinking about doing some modifications where I'll buy an old system and then I'll upgrade it, put in a new shell and improve it all, and, you know, get a nicer shell, a nicer design. But you can't do that with the Game Boy Micro. You can replace the front plates, the face plates, but you can't replace these. There's nothing you can do. It's just so small. The way they've built it, it can't be easily changed. And, you know, I've looked online, I can't find any replacement shells for this. So if you buy the original Game Boy Advance, you can replace the shell with any colour you want for just $5 or $10. It's the same with the SP. But the Game Boy Micro, what you see is what you get. So this just reinforces what I said before. Try and find a good one in good condition. Don't get one that's got lots and lots of scratches on it, because it's not like if you buy a scratched SP, you can change the shell. If you buy a scratched Game Boy Advance, it's in really bad condition. You can change everything and then, you know, make it nice, but you can't do that with the Game Boy Micro. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If there's anything I've not covered, please do ask a question below and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing more videos on handhelds in the future, and as I said, I'd love to do some tutorials on how to do mods and things like that, so please do subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for that. Till next time, guys, thanks for watching.